Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you something you have never seen before. This is a game on Carpiquet Duellists 1v1 with every single person in the game playing the third armoured. Yes, this is a allied versus allied game with nothing but the third armoured. It came about on my stream mainly due to the fact that somebody suggested playing jumbos versus jumbos and thought it would be hilarious for us to have a never-ending battle where neither jumbo could penetrate each other, and therefore you'd have this epic long match where nothing really happened. But it actually turned out very different to that, and it was incredibly fun. So on my team today I have Haymaker, Bet and Val. And on the opposing team, we have Ciara, Chilcotton, Blaze, Whackamatic 007, and Dave. So I believe Ciara, Chilcotton, Blaze, and Whackamatic are all patrons, and I thank you guys very much for joining me in this game, and for, obviously your patronage. I very much appreciate it. Thanks to all patrons who support my channel. It really, really helps me out. And if you want to maybe check that out for yourselves, guys, there is a link in the description. It really, really does help out. Like, you guys have no idea how thankful I am. But anyway, let's get into the game. Let's go from my perspective. We'll have a look at the units that I'm putting down. So, first of all, two M4A1s with an M5A1 command. Quite simply just to give the extra command stars to those M4A1s. I also have two of these AT guns on the left side, but I believe I changed them up later on. I'm just going to speed up the deployment because it did take us a little while to sort of work out what we wanted to have on all fronts. I believe myself, Haymaker, Bets and Val were all on TeamSpeak together, so we had voice comms, which was rather amusing throughout the game. I ended up opting to take away the AT guns and bring in one M21 mortar carrier because it's kind of one of those things where you want to have the AT guns to counter the enemy's tanks, but then again, you probably want to have your own mortars to counter the enemy AT guns, which are going to counter your tanks. And it was very weird to sort of think about it that way, but that's basically the thinking that went on throughout the entire game. And you can see on my right side here, Val's gone all out on the AT guns with an M21 mortar carrier to follow up. Whereas myself, I've gone all out on the M4A1s and even brought in two M21 mortar carriers instead of the Stuart that I brought in. So removed the command, just brought in more mortar carriers and thought that that would be the way that we could win in this game. Now, it wasn't a serious game by any means, but it was still pretty funny. We can see Haymaker bringing in more AT guns on this left side, and Bet's also joining him there, bringing up the M8 Scots. He's got the M5A1 command tank and two M4A1s. So Bet's going for a much heavier push than Haymaker. But recon also pretty important, so you can see me bringing that up as well. And I think mine and Val's recon throughout this game was absolutely fantastic. We could see everything that was coming at us, and already we've got a track wheel destroy onto a command, like an M20 I believe that was. Rather amusing start, at least. Seeing M8s and M4s come over the horizon painted red was quite an interesting sight, that's for sure. Not something you see very often. But my mortar carrier going to start firing away at Ciara's infantry out in the open. My M4A1s slowly but surely arriving on this right side, but Val's M1 gun not going to be lasting too long under fire from the M4A1. So the M4A1s are actually, pretty strong actually against these AT guns. The penetration of an M1 gun versus an M4A1 is not actually that high. It's probably like a 26% chance of penetration at max range. And these M1 guns from the 3rd Armoured don't have any veterancy, so their accuracy is really bad. And you can imagine that that's the same. I mean, all of these things that I'm talking about are exactly the same on both sides. So please bear that in mind throughout the game. Every comment that I'm making is probably relevant to both sides of the battlefield, which is very funny indeed. We do see the P-38 coming down here. from Chilcon Blaze. You can see the amount of 50 cals opening up as that comes down, though. It doesn't actually end up doing too much damage to the M1 gun. Ciara's 2-star M4A1, though, going to be internal fragmenting my M4A1, which was rather rude. So I'm going to be coming straight down with the mortar fire onto the M4A1, going to try and stop it from taking out one of my tanks early on. But that's going to require some supply, so just going to be waiting to bring that in later on. So mortar carrier is going to be firing now at the M1 gun. Got to remove their AT before we can move our M4A1s forwards and engage this M4A1 that Ciara is using over here. There's also another M1 gun joining the fight. Is going to start firing at my M4A1. But we managed to take out an M8 Greyhound there. And you can see my M4 is firing back at the M1 gun. But I don't want to continue that engagement, so going to be getting out of there. Ciara is going to be coming around the corner with the M4A1 2-star. And forcing my M4A1 to fall back. Thankfully, the tanks were doing well at the start of the game, keeping their front armor facing whilst they were falling back. Meanwhile, on this left side, Haymaker is going to be moving up with multiple M1 guns and half-tracks, getting quite close actually to the buildings of Chilcon Blaze and the other opponent on that side, because myself and Val, we're up against Ciara and Dave. Over on this left side, they were up against Whack-A-Matic and Chilcotton, and you can see that Whack-A-Matic has invested quite heavily into infantry for these hangars as opposed to tanks in the open. So currently Haymaker making quite a lot of ground with his half tracks, and the armoured rifles can't really do too much about that. So let's just put it back to my perspective. We can pretty much see most of the units on the enemy team on our side anyway, due to our recon. You can see that I've moved up plenty of recon to the centre of the airfield. I've also used the 30 cals to keep the front line forwards. So we are currently finding 57% territory lead at the moment, even though things are, you know, kind of even across the board when it comes to divisions. Now on this right side, the M1 gun does go down to the enemy M21 mortar carriers. And I guess that's going to be how I distinguish this. I'm going to have to put the word enemy in front of the enemy unit names, otherwise it could get rather confusing. But with both of Val's, or all of Val's AT guns being destroyed, and bringing up my own AT guns to prevent the push from the M4A1s, I don't have my own veterancy here. I probably should have brought up a command infantry or a command unit of some sort to give the extra veterancy to these M4A1s, because you can see how much more that M4A1 with the 2-star veterancy actually hits over the M4A1s with 1-star veterancy. And that is just the power of veterancy right there. So I've brought up a GMC, got to try and get the ammo back into the M4A1 here. Ciara's M4A1 is opening up onto my M4A1 again, gets the internal fire on the second shot. Thankfully my mortars are on the case, going to be stopping the M4A1 from continuing the engagement. Do drop off the Jeep over here, going to have to retreat that Jeep away from the 50 cal fire from the M3A1 half track. We currently, Haymaker's still making ground here, has some more infantry on the way to try and push into these hangars. Meanwhile, Bet's holding that far left side. One of my M1 guns gets mortared to death on the right side in the meantime. And I'm bringing up a third AT gun now to join the second one that is still alive. So this engagement has been rather strange so far. You can see that none of the M4A1s really getting an overwhelming advantage over the others, just kind of exchanging fire over and over and over again. But all in good fun, waiting for phase B, where we can bring in the first of our jumbos and start bouncing off the front armor of each other's. It's really what I think everybody was waiting for, and there was kind of a little bit of strategy to this, in that myself and Val were both deciding to save up to be able to bring in our jumbos on the tick of the phase B minute. So there was a little bit of tactics in there, and having that jumbo just that little bit sooner might give us an advantage. That's at least what we were going for. Mortar carrier is still doing a fantastic job. I was glad I invested in 2 mortar carriers in the end. They really did do us a lot of favours. But we are slowly but surely being pushed back on this right side by Dave and Ciara. Over on the left side, however, Haymaker and Betts definitely making a lot of ground, and they've got a right half-track blob going on over here. Look at this. Absolutely crazy stuff. Holy moly. So many half-tracks. We got... I don't know if I even want to try and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 half-tracks. There's also... mixed in there 2 M4A1s with the M5A1, making a solid push towards these hangars. Absolutely crazy stuff. Another M1 gun dies on this right side. That's going to be well, the second one down, last one still alive but only with 1 health. Now we see some smoke coming down from our opponents, whilst I continue the mortar fire now with a 3rd mortar carrier to this right side. This half-track push here from Haymaker has actually been making quite a lot of ground. Armoured rifles revealing themselves in these hangars has not been very good for them. Probably could have had them on return fire, I guess, and then engaged at the 100-metre range as armoured rifles came up in the open. Probably would have worked out a little bit better due to the HE value. But either way, Betts gets an armoured rifle into the enemy hangars, and that is a lot of ground made. However, still falling back on this right side with the advance of Ciara and Dave. So we have Ciara's 2-star M4A1s really sort of beating us up, I guess, and causing us issues. Got a track wheel damage on one of my M4A1s there, and you can see the last of my M1 guns is going to go down to the mortar carriers. So at the end of the day, no one should have brought in AT guns because everybody brought in mortars. And I guess if I'd known that at the start, we could have invested in other things, but we're focusing mainly, of course, on the M4A1s over anything else. My mortar carriers are going to be firing away onto these M4A1s, try and do a bit of morale damage, give my M4A1s the advantage, but I definitely should have invested in some form of command, like an M5A1 Steward or something, just to keep the command onto my units throughout the game. But anyway, Recon is ready in the middle of the map and definitely providing us a lot of information, allowing Betts and Haymaker to continue to push up. But now we're in phase B. It's the jumbo train, boys. We have Val with his jumbo. We have myself with my jumbo. We have Haymaker with his jumbo. And then we have a M4A3 76mm from Val, and I've brought in Pool, the ace for the 3rd armoured. So there you go. All of the jumbos rolling in at the same time. And Haymaker's going to be joining him on the left side. But our 2 jumbos, myself and Val, are coming in this early on to try and make a push on the right side, because jumbos will beat M4A1s quite handily, as they won't be able to be penetrated or even morale damaged by M4s, and still be able to reply by killing the M4s. So yeah, pretty good position you'd be in if we had jumbos at the front line, and that's why we decided to invest in them so early on. Now with Ciara moving forwards, we are getting shots in from all sides. My M4A1 engaging from this direction, this M4A1 engaging as well. Going to try and get down the mortar fire as well, and you can see Ciara is just constantly moving forwards and backwards, trying to make a little bit of ground here and there. This time even coming down with the smoke cover to make sure the M4A1s get out of there. On the right side, any advance from armoured rifles getting absolutely decimated. So good fun so far. Somehow Betts and Haymaker managed to get across this airfield, but like I said before, I think it was mainly because VulcanHD actually invested in infantry over tanks at the start of the game, and therefore could not really contest it over the open versus the M1 guns. There might have been a lack of mortars on this side as well, which also meant the AT guns were more effective than they otherwise should have been. But we're seeing a lot of M5A1s come out of VulcanHD now. Crazy stuff. M4A1's going to be engaging those. That is a absolute carnage there by those houses. P-38 Lightning going to be coming down with the rockets, try and get some stunning in there, but there we go. Right, both of my M4A1s still good to go from the start of the game. M21 mortar carriers have been doing plenty of damage. But the Jumbos are now arriving. Myself and Val both with Jumbos. Val with the M4A376 mil though. And that could definitely make all the difference. This M4A376, you know, it's not a Jumbo, which is what the whole gameplay was about, but it's a 2-star M4A3, and that has the chance really here to take on a lot of these M4s from distance and find the kills. Now, one of my M4A1s does go ahead, actually I think it was one of Val's M4A1s, does go ahead and die there next to that smoke. The smoke not quite down in time from Val in order to stop that from happening. But Val now moving up with the M4A3 is going to get the driver wounded onto an M4A1. One of my Jeeps goes down in the centre with a push from Dave. But yeah, the M4A3 was starting to make short work of the Shermans, which was interesting. Jumbo on the airfield here from Dave probably had the same strategy that we did. Whack-a-matic also with a Jumbo in very early into phase B. So everybody I think ended up having the same idea with the Jumbos, and this is where we start to clash and really try and find an advantage. Although the M4A3 here out of Val, really good choice in fact, as it allowed him the range advantage over a lot of the Shermans at this phase in the game, and is currently hammering Pool to try and find a kill there. So Pool's dead under the command of Dave. Jumbos and M4A1s are harassing the M21 mortar carrier there. And it's very important that I keep Pool with this Jumbo, otherwise that Jumbo basically hits nothing. The worst thing about Jumbos is they are so inaccurate sometimes. Well, most of the time I would say. And that can really be a problem. Anyway, I've brought up my own M4A3 76mm here. Managed to pop one of the Shermans after losing one of my own. And myself and Val are going to drive on. I've got some infantry on the way to help us secure some buildings in this area. And if Ciara and Dave are lacking infantry themselves, I should be able to make a lot of ground. At least that's what I was going for. Thunderbolt comes in to try and get a rocket strike. Gets absolutely annihilated by the 50 cals. Doesn't get shot down, but definitely takes a lot of damage in the process. And, well, at the moment, Haymaker's doing a decent job of holding on to the enemy side of the airfield. That's currently giving us a +2, which is quite nice. And now myself and Val are making ground on the right side. I guess in this game, the advantage for us really came from myself being able to communicate with Val directly. So that gave us this concentrated push on the right side that was really doing a lot of damage. Ciara on their own couldn't really like hold us back, whilst Dave sort of came over further to the other side to deal with Haymaker and Betts. So armoured rifles get pinned down as we push forwards here, but I managed to get one into the building to contest the enemy armoured rifles, which was interesting. I've got a third armoured rifles now zooming up, trying to get the Zuka into position to kill off whatever's behind this hangar. So yeah, still going for shots here. M4A3 taking shots at the Jumbo, trying to find that kill in there. Track's wheel damaged onto the Jumbo. Managed to get the command M5A1 Stuart with the Zuka from the armoured rifles. And meanwhile, still hammering this Jumbo. Jumbo on Jumbo action. M4A376 manages to get the kill, as the Jumbo did show its side and rear armour. Internal fragments though for the M4A3 now. But with the help of the double Jumbo Pool combo, we managed to fend off the M4A376 from Dave. Managed to pick off the M21 mortar carrier on this right side here with the M4A376mm, and just across the board now we are making a lot of ground. However, Betts and Haymaker starting to struggle on this left side, relying quite a lot on these half tracks which can't really stand up to things like the Jumbo and the M4s. So those of you, who are dedicated to the channel, I would love to know how many times I say Jumbo in this video, because I would have expected it to be quite a lot. So Jumbo, Jumbo, Jumbo. give me a count in the comments, and I'm not going to count it myself. I'll just give you guys the benefit of the doubt. I just want to know. Okay, so anyway, there's a call to action for you guys. Maybe gives you a bit of fun throughout the video. Armoured Rifles managed to take out Paul there though with the bazooka, and my M4A376 is in a pretty decent position on this right side. Paul, however, maybe not so much on the middle of the airfield. My 3 mortar carriers now moving up with the assistance of my armoured rifles are actually making quite a lot of ground now. I've also preemptively brought up some CGMC AA just to try and take care of enemy air force that comes in. Sierra though makes a very nice play, manages to get the M5 gun to ambush my jumbo here, gets the side shot as my jumbo was facing to the left towards this M4A3. Very nice kill there for the M5A1. Val's going to be looking to do the same with his M5 gun, but that's been spotted by the M4A3 105. Paul's going to be ripping to shreds some armoured rifles, and you would not want to be infantry in this game. Like, there was just so many tanks. The infantry really couldn't do anything. Infantry was just being slaughtered all over the place. But on this left side we now see a Calliope absolutely hammer Betts' jumbos and Haymaker's jumbo and the M4A1 there, and we see the armoured rifles. Calliope now hitting myself on this right side. Paul actually goes down under the command of myself. And, well, there goes the M3 half-tracks. They're slowly but surely dying. I'm now bringing in some reinforcements. Another M4A376. I've also got an M4A375. So now I've got to try and take care of this M4A1. That engagement should go in my favour, and it does indeed. I'm now going to be going for the engagement onto the jumbo here. Actually ended up firing at the CGMC first. Double Thunderbolt does force back one of our jumbos. And here goes the Calliope. Going to be trying to force the fall back onto the jumbo here. Phase C has now started, and what does that give us access to? More jumbos. That's on both sides. Good stuff indeed. Time to continue the push forwards. M4A3 is now engaging an enemy M4A3 here, although loses line of sight after a little while. And we're just continuing the push on this right side. Myself and Val making a lot of progress, which was really, really nice. Calliope does start doing quite a lot of work on this right side, but then ends up getting hit by Val's M4A3, which actually crew knocks out the Calliope, which stops it from firing, which was rather lucky, honestly. We see my M4A1 here take the shots from the M4A3, which is allowing my M4A3 to engage the enemy M4A3. And I've even got some more infantry coming up to secure more ground. So using the cover of the buildings, getting these M3 half-tracks into decent positions, my M4A1 eventually goes down to the engagement with the M4A3. I actually capture this GMC, which was funny, but that's not going to last too long under fire from Sierra. Ammo storage hit onto this Calliope. I really wanted to get rid of it. Eventually I find the kill, because that is definitely what could put a dent in our push here on this right side. Betts and Haymaker managing to hold on to their position here just about. And with the +2 on the board, currently 5 minutes until a victory for the allied side, or our side, myself, Haymaker, Betts and Val, just to add that clarification in there. Tracks and wheels are damaged on this jumbo. I'm bringing up an M5 gun to shoot that at point blank range, whilst the M4A3 hits it from the right side. What ends up happening though is the M4A3 gets a weapon jam, out of action, cannot fire, and therefore my M5 gun then gets the front armor faced of the jumbo. So it's in a really bad position right now, and well, fortunately this GMC is right in position to fix up the M4A3 if it doesn't get killed off by an enemy M4A3. What a nightmare of a commentary this has been. Anyway, 2-star M5 gun is on its way. In the 3rd Armoured you can get access to at least one of these M4 or M5 guns with the 2-star veterancy. So going to be trying to use that now to clean up some tanks, whilst we continue to push back the enemy jumbos. Thankfully, due to Val's Calliope, we do have the means in order to stun and force back the jumbos. And now my M5 gun's just waiting to get some shots towards the M4A376, but the P38 Lightning is going to be coming down. That's going to actually hit my M4A3, but that's had its weapon jam fixed already, so just about get away with that. This M5 gun's got a shot onto the M21 mortar carrier there. Doesn't quite get it. Thunderbolt comes in, takes the M5 gun down to 1 health. I also lose my M4A375 in the process. I believe that was to an enemy M4A3. M5 gun, 2-star M5 gun goes down in the center of the map.
Yes, sir.
Recon's still alive after all of this, but Haymaker and Betts have been pushed back slightly on that left side. So absolutely crazy battle. No, like some of the tanks are able to penetrate each other, like these M4A3s can kill each other, and the M4A1s can in some cases, but it takes a while. But these jumbos are absolutely indestructible in these kinds of fights. As long as the jumbo has its front armor facing, they just don't go anywhere. The thing is as well is that the jumbos can't really kill an M4A3 at max range due to the M4A3s having 11 armor, so that just makes it even more crazy. You can see these jumbos just have a really hard time of actually doing damage in the end. Like against the initial M4A1s they are fine, but you really got to rely on the side shots like we just saw there. Like an M4A3 going down to Val's jumbo was mainly down to that side shot. 63% territory lead for us is still providing the +2. 2 minutes left until victory. Honestly, going into this game, I expected it to last a lot longer than it did. But it was still, like, hilarious watching all of these jumbos and armor just going up against each other on this airfield. It was absolutely incredible. Really, really fun game. M5 gun really just struggling to do anything against this jumbo. And now the Calliope is going to be coming down on top of that as well. First rocket does the job. Crazy stuff. I've got 2 more M5 guns on the way. Thunderbolt going to be rocketing the Calliope. Actually ends up killing the command infantry that was stood next to it. And with that morale damage done to the Calliope is going to be sending rockets all over the place, which is absolutely crazy. P38 Lightning now coming in with the 2 25HE power bombs. Can it find the bombs on target though? There's so many 50 cals that any aircraft that arrive just get severely damaged. And those bombs, although off target, did manage to do quite a lot of morale damage, but I now have the M5 gun in position. So that's a start. Got this M5 gun on the right side as well, and that's going to try and fend off against the armoured rifles incursion on that side. New jumbo on the way for me, and an M4A376mm. And yeah, although Haymaker and Betts lost their position on the other side of this airfield, didn't particularly matter towards the end of the game. Managed to get an M4A376mm kill towards the end there, pick up the jumbo kill very nicely. Val loses his pool, and as we can see across the board, pool did not do very well. I'm pretty sure in every person's kit, pool died. Like every division, pool just died. And there we have it. Finally, after the 26 minutes and 43 seconds, that is a victory for my team of allies. Myself, Haymaker, Betts and Val. 1,950 kills for me towards the end of that game, picking up both the jumbo and the M4A376mm at the end there, really helping out. Ciara putting up a valiant fight on the other side, and actually a really positive KD for Wackomatic. Dave there with the negative KD. It looks like negative KDs almost across the board, but myself and Val really sort of picking it up on that right side, managed to push through Ciara and Dave's defense in the end. So M4A1s did kind of manage to pay themselves off. M4A3 managed to kill off the Calliope in the end, got the 2 M21 mortar carriers, took out 2 M4A1s along the way. This armoured rifles that managed to get up into the face of them ended up taking out Pool and the M5A1, so that was really good value there. And then the M5 gun at the end, picking up both the M4A3 and the Jumbo, was fantastic. In terms of losses, this M4A3 from Dave did a great job. Killed off the M4A3, killed off one of my M21 mortar carriers, took out the M4A1. This M4A376 took out both of those M5 guns. That's pretty crazy. So yeah, interesting stuff. I just thought this was an incredibly fun game, and I just had to share it on the channel after playing it on the stream. It was really good fun, and hopefully you guys join me for a stream in the future. They are every Saturday at 8 PM GMT, so join me then. But in the meantime, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.